I do love our jaunty little opening tune. Welcome back to the Story Hour.
And here we are back for part two with the fabulous Denise Chapman Weston. Hey, Denise.
I
And we
have
didn't
to
get
say,
to.
our discussion last week was just lovely, really lovely.
Thank you.
It is
It was
exactly
great.
what we want this show to be about. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to follow on. So last week we spoke about, for me, a lot of where your heart comes from. You spoke about synthesizing as well when you're in a room, when you was a clinician and hearing lots of families, have this kind of idea of who's the big balloon, I suppose, and they're all telling each other stories. But I've seen you do that synthesize as well in a creative way. And I think as a storyteller and a creator, there's always other people's opinions. And I think one thing you're really good at is taking on board and listening to those and figuring out what fits for you and what doesn't fit. And in your experience as a storyteller, you've worked with some brilliant like MagiQuest and Infinite Kingdoms and all of this big, big stuff. Some of the water slide experiences you've created, big, big spatial awareness. I want to now talk about the Longings, because the Longings takes all of this and condenses it down to something quite small. And I know for you, everything has meaning. Like, and I'm not joking when I said I came into your home and spent some days there with you, and I did not know where to look first. My jaw literally dropped. So I know you're going to take us on a little tour of your home.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you might, just before we begin, or you've shot a few videos for us so we can like narrate over them, but could you just maybe, as Brian sets up that first video, talk us through where you are right now and what this is behind you? There's a lot of clocks going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of yeah. So like we're gonna see my office in a little bit. But yeah, that's been my pandemic creative outlet. But I've had my house like this for um 10 years. I've been working on, adding to it and making it all come to life. So one of the things that when people say you're creative or you're imaginative or you're able to take ideas and bring them into life-size experiences, some of my most important storytelling is actually to teach and to pass on or pass forward the ability to invent. And the Longings, which is it's a little, let's just say it's a secret code project for now, but it's about using characters to teach invention. But it's also about repurposing and looking at something in a new way. I mean, so over my head, you can kind of see this little longing that's sitting up there looking over at us. That's an example of found objects being arranged into a certain way that when you look at all the parts and pieces, you learn a story of what its purpose of, what it's longing to be, when it will belong, and how it gets there is through its stories and memories over time that contribute to how we create ideas in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very blessed and lucky that I have been able to take ideas and bring them to life. I feel incredible that investors have come in and taken my inventions, helped me patent them and bring them to life in ways through big theme park attractions and magical technology and all kinds of things like that. But my biggest accomplishment would be to actually use those skill sets to teach others how to become storytellers and inventors themselves for like little kids to adults who want to repurpose themselves in the future. I just saw this really cool meme. When you were a little kid, if you followed what you wanted your occupation to be, what would you be doing today? And my response to that, I see all these people, veterinarian, librarian, like all these things that people want. I'm like, I actually surpassed
Nice.
what I wanted to be when I was a child. Thank you, life.
That's
And
lovely.
I would love to be able, no matter what age you are, whether you're a child or an adult, to be able to look at life like that and be able to say that you can always repurpose and go after the things that you've always wanted to do.
And I think right now, I mean, if you look at the last year, it was such a perfect time for people to, you were prevented from being engaged in your routine. So it really was the perfect time to look at what would bring you joy. Not everyone did it. A lot of people were still looking over their shoulders, waiting for the past to recreate, to come back. But what a brilliant thing to want to teach people, because at least, and I'm sure when you were a clinician in your studies, you noticed that some people became what was expected of them as opposed to where their joy was going to be. So even having the permission to reinvent, to recreate, to discover your heart's desire, and to have someone who facilitates that like yourself is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the shots go back and forth between you and Allison and these videos, because I am Monsieur le Directeur today. And so I'm going to be running the technology here so that it works. So over to you and Allison as we start to tour this.
Just to set the stage.
Okay.
I love Repurpose. I absolutely adore collecting repurposed broken things and giving them a new story. So I don't like, when I look at something and I decide to put it kind of on show in the house, everything connects and becomes something. And it was something before, and now I put it in a new way. And sometimes when people come in and their mouths drop, they're like, literally like, what the hell is going on? And then after a while, here's what I see. No matter what background you are, whether you're somebody that believes in, this kind of decor or not, some people call it steampunky, it is unique. But what I find is that they go down a rabbit hole, and eventually they start seeing things that they want to ask questions about. And then those questions, lead to, how did you think of that? And normally what I do is ask them, do you remember it? Did you ever see this in your parents, grandparents, whatever house? And then they have a story that they want to tell. And I have literally will start in one room and we'll go all the way through dinner, just going through all the pieces in the house. So
I have
the tour. Let's start the tour.
I have an idea.
Go on.
So my idea is future oriented. And my idea is, because we have the capability of live broadcast and we have the capability of interacting with the audience. So one of these days we should actually do that and facilitate people's questioning as they tour your house. So on the technology side, I will figure that out and get back to you.
That's great. That's great.
Are we ready for the tour?
We're ready for the tour.
Okay. So these videos have no sounds, Denise, so you are free to narrate over them. And here we go with number 1.
Do not stand during the ride. Let's go.
Done on my iPhone. We're taking a tour of my office. You can see some of the Longings, but what I really enjoy bragging about is that pipe structure on the wall, which is literally my sort of steampunk world coming to life. And now we're going to go down the hallway into the library, which is to the left. And that room, that thing fell out of my ear. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so these are little bits and pieces that I find from different artists. It's a world inside of a world. I truly love that. I love the idea that you can see a world inside of a world. So I'm
just going to back up a little bit and play it again so that we can enter the world within the world.
So that's from, I also like collecting other artists' interpretation of their little worlds and how they create them. And this is an Etsy artist that creates these unique little bookshelf worlds. And then it's like this trickery and sort of the magic of it makes it look like it goes on forever. But that's in front of the library that you'll see next. I think the library is next.
All right,
Is it
we're
next?
moving on.
Let me see. So we're going to step in. There's all kinds of different elements here in which I have taken parts and pieces and I put them throughout the entire play. So in the library, I've got my collection of well-traveled suitcases from 100 years ago, to books that I've collected throughout maybe 3 centuries, and different stories that come to life throughout it, including things that are collected from theme parks that I've done. And then you get a little glimpse of the Longings. They're sitting up, all their parts and pieces up there on the top shelf there. Each one of them are made out of maybe 15 to 20 different collected pieces over time.
I'm running through it again because I think we should do all of these twice so that people can have the experience.
Everything does have meaning, and from the big items to the small, everything has a story, and it makes you stop and look. It would be so easy, like Brian's saying, we showed these twice, so easy to scan. But really, the magic and the beauty is in the moment where you stop and look, because there's such a
Yeah, so if you stop and look, go back just like a couple of sections before that. On the floor. So what happened in this room? If you stop right there. Right there. Stop right there.
Yeah,
okay.
On the floor, right?
If you can look on the floor, it looks like a book exploded on the floor. And what that is there are about 15 books in antique books that I tore a page out of each one of them, and then they are permanently adhered to the floor. And each page that I tore out has a $100 bill, so that someday in the future, when my grandkids want to go on a true treasure hunt, they can try to figure out what book that they belong to, and there's about $1,000 there for them.
Wait, so the $100 bills are in the books?
In the books, I tore the page out of.
That's
all
brilliant.
Cemented into the floor, and that someday they can go back and try to find the stories that those are connected to.
They got a lot of books there to choose
their own story about how they tried to find it.
So good.
And you mentioned the Longings, so there they are again.
Yeah, so these are different Longings that have been created by a couple of really wonderful artists. Actually, the artist that did this has a fantastic story. He is a vet who was in Afghanistan, and what he did is when he was on duty, the kids in Afghanistan would come and he would make toys for them out of plastics that were around, and he turned them into these little bots out of plastic. He's an incredible artist, and he made some of these bots for me because I think he is a lovely show of repurposing and telling a unique story in itself.
It's fantastic. Okay, so where do we go next? Where's our next video take us?
Okay, I think we're going to go see how I repurposed old. So we're going. So down the hallway we go. This is just on the first floor of my office. And we're going to pass by my dog's otage to my new dog, Tristan, my 3-legged Puerto Rican rescue. And right here, if you look in front of you, was me repurposing about 15 different pieces of an elevator. And turning it into its own elevator, which it really isn't. It's just looks like one. But all those lights work, and you can press the on and off button. If you look below the lights, that's an old elevator seat. You pull it up, see it, and you sit on it. The reason that's there is because the way I visually saw it is on the opposite side is the kitchen, is my refrigerator. So I wanted to keep the refrigerator where it was, but the problem with doing that was it sat in the middle of the room. So what could I do? I created an elevator behind it. Well, and then we go, the reason why I like this room, this is the game room where my grandson loves playing his Nintendo games, which is over to the left. It's also where my VR is. And
I have a collection of probably about 70 different clocks. All of them have stopped at some point in time, and literally some point in time, and I've not turned them back on. So wherever the clock stopped in time is the last memory of them working. There's maybe 4 working clocks in my whole house out of 60.
And you know, I feel from being with you for many occasions and being in your home, you have got a big respect, a deep respect for all of the items. You know, even in terms of, I don't know if I'm even going to get this right, of touching an item and thinking of whose hands has been on it before, and kind of connecting and respecting the physical presence of touch.
Oh,
so,
definitely.
Really
so I love that you just said that, because I think when people sort of come into and they look at home decor, right, and they're looking through magazines to try to get the decor they want, or they're watching a television show about how to decorate, I let the items actually start to come together on their own and start telling this really unique story that I want to bring a second life to. I love the idea that they all had a life someplace else. Some of them were functional lives, some of them were decor lives, some of them, I've got, obsession with keys and doors and windows and locks and organs, not body organs, but
what are we looking at right now?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What are we looking at right now?
Okay. So that's a secret door that leads to my basement, but it's actually the workshop where I create all of these things that are all over the house, and it leads to the pub.
Let's go.
All right. So the next one, I think we're going to go down into we're just on the first and second floor. It goes up to the Magic Castle, which is on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
We're not going to see that.
Yeah, that's another one we do.
Okay, so here we go. So down into the basement we go, and down the stairway. And I love illusion and mirrors and the idea that we can see, as you're walking down, people get a little freaked out as they look around. And I use a lot of my theme park knowledge and supporting, like some of these things are attractions from my theme park. Lights off, lights on. Welcome to the pub, where I have the traditional pub seats at the bar, as well as a time machine to travel in. And I've made different ways in which we can sit around and have drink and talk about life. And I also have what I call my yesterday's computer. So we'll stop right there for a second. Go back to that one.
Sorry.
Right, so I turn off the lights.
There we go.
So right there, I created a computer, but it's out of an old typewriter, an old television, an old phonograph, an old Morse code unit, antenna for the wireless, a camera, an old camera for the webcam. I've got a printer. It's on the right-hand side. It's an old printer. And yep. So the world, so that we can figure out where we're going in the world, that entire setup is meant to look at the repurpose of like where the invention started. All of those things connect to really the simple idea that you're on a computer. All of that had something to do with it.
Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. Not only that, but I have to tell you that
physical longing of it, like that's it. And that's just assembling the pieces in a way that tells a story about, if you look back at it, when I take my grandson down there, I said, this is how literally computers started. It's not the computer. It's not the technology necessarily. All these things contribute to it at some point in time. And
really
then,
brilliant.
I'm going to show you how I turn my lights on and off with the mad scientist approach. Ta-da!
And next?
Okay, where are we going next?
Okay. I think we're going to go back upstairs to look at the use of the pipe organs. I think so.
The pipe organs. So you was in to visit you.
Yeah. So old clocks and keys, and this is the back of my family room area where I have doors that lead to nowhere. And that's an old pipe organ, about 150 years old. And then I connected three different pieces of art to it. So if you see, just obviously you have your TV and whatnot, but that is the third set of pipe organs. See them, the wood ones that are up there?
Yeah.
And that's connecting 3 or 4 different art pieces together with pipe organs being repurposed.
Wow.
Okay, what the heck is that capsule?
Go on.
Is that what you see? You see the castle?
I see the capsule.
The capsule.
It's like a white. It's got, I don't know what it is.
Oh, the clock. Okay, so that's a grandfather's clock with a time a sundial in it. See it right there on the underneath of it? Yeah. I'll send you a picture of that.
Can you get into that?
Actually, it's a great grandfather's clock. It's really very, very cool. So one of my favorite statements is rabbit hole. So we're going to go down into the rabbit hole, but I also took space and my love of clocks, and that is like a 20-foot clock, quarter clock on my wall above my kitchen.
That's a second kitchen.
I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, you are a freaking nut job, girl. All right. Ready for Alice's room? Down the rabbit hole?
Go to Alice's
last one. Just real quick.
Okay,
this is my dining room. So, like, my favorite of all time scenes in Alice in Wonderland is when she realizes, like, it finally hits her that she is, like, in the oddest place in the world is when she's sitting down to have tea. So there's a couple of
story ever.
That was music room and Alice in Wonderland room.
That was my first rabbit hole, and I thought it was about me. I thought it was Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, so I have a collection of like 40 alarm clocks. There's Alice sitting above it. And then, of course, like even her chair is sitting there, and the grand piano behind it, and the diamond floor, and the rabbit hole down below underneath it, the different steam pug. Wait, let's stop here for a second. Right there. So here is the outrageous, if you catch it in my house, you will see meaning after meaning after meaning. So there's a painting on the wall. If you look behind it where the light is, and that painting is actually duplicated by the stuff that's sitting on top of the piano. So you everything in that painting, if you see it from that one perspective, is the same exact things that are in that painting.
Wow. So you've staged the painting in the room.
Here's the weirdest thing. I bought that painting in a thrift shop. And I had all those things in my house. And all I had to do was hang it and then put this in front of it. But I recognized as soon as I saw everything in it, I'm like, shit, I got all that. It's like it's telling a story about I know what I'm going to do.
So I just want to say, what an odyssey.
And you should see, I say there's something in here that's like a rabbit hole. It's like the picture comes to life right in front of, can you find it?
Yeah, love it.
And they'll sit there in the room and they're like, oh, is it this? I'm like, no. If you turn a little bit further, there's one thing that you can't see, and it's my favorite story I tell of all time. You want to hear it?
Well,
yeah, of course.
Wait. I think we'll have to wait for the next time, because we are actually, in spite of the fact that time stands still in your house with all those clocks stopped, time does not stand still here. And I was uncertain whether I heard you invite me to your home or not, but I'll go back and listen to see if I can find it. But well, it's like, I hate to say this is so television. That's all the time we have for today, folks.
Yeah, where's she gone?
Oh my God. Oh, hello, Tristan.
He's so cute.
Jizzes.
Wait on him. He has a new name.
Go on.
I him Tristan, but he is also my favorite Elvish character.
Go on.
New name is Legolas.
Legolas.
Of course it is. How can it be anything else?
So
Denise, it's so great. Thank you.
I just want to say what fun. I mean, part 1 was deep and wonderful, and part 2 was deep and totally amusing and totally fun. And it's really interesting. Now I basically, like, I want to put 360 cameras in your house and like shoot the whole thing in VR so people can have an experience of living in that home. Denise, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure to have you, and I'm serious about having like an interactive tour where people can actually ask these questions. I think it's a special event. Allison and I will work on it. I have no idea when it will be since I have to pack up and move. But I so enjoyed today. Allison,
thank you guys.
You are amazing in just the people that you know and you get to play with.
Oh, well, I'm very blessed, actually, with both of you, so thank you.
So, thank you. And for those of you that are fans of the Story Hour, we've got, 20 some odd episodes for you to go back and watch with amazing, amazing storytellers. And, of course, if you're on Clubhouse, then you can actually join in our conversation in the writer's room every Thursday at noon Pacific time, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and we'll hear you there and see you here on the Story Hour. Thanks so much. Thanks again, Denise. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon.